Well, good morning, good evening, or good night, depending on where you are in the world today. Um, we were going to do an interview earlier in the week with Diane Brear, which unfortunately we were unable to do, but we because the interview that about to have specifically deals with integrating your shadow self. And there's Di. Hello, hello, hello. Di, you should see a notification on your screen asking you to join the live. Um, or otherwise, if you see one saying ask to join, actually, let me revoke the access. Di, if you ask to actually join, then I can just accept. There we go. Awesome. Go live with Di. That's fantastic. And that should sign you in. There you are.
There we go. Hi.
So, hello, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, thanks, and yourself. Good to see you eventually after all our little bits of issues that we got there.
Yes, indeed. Oh, Di, I'm gonna have to ask you if you can. Doesn't automatically change the video to landscape, so you'll have to unfortunately. Yeah, thank you.
There we go. Got it.
There
Sorry
we go.
about
Yeah.
that.
No worries at all. No worries at all. So yeah, I was just saying that I'm super excited about this discussion because shadow work that I recommend to all my clients and that I attempt to do on a regular basis, just that I have um, better boundaries and also able to have more energy to draw on, etc. But then there's also this wonderful topic of aligning with the moon phases for personal growth that I can't wait to get into because that's something else that I'm very passionate about, really learning to move with the cosmic energies so that we can grow and expand in our understanding of self and the world around us. Before we get into that, though, I'd love to hear a little bit more about you and what got you onto this journey.
Okay, thank you, Steph. So it's a long story. Basically, long story short, I was fascinated with aromatherapy when I was younger in my 20s, but I just never had an opportunity to actually study it in terms of doing an actual course. So I read a lot of books. I kind of self-taught myself, and it was fabulous. Then I watched my mother get cancer, get very sick from that. I nursed her through that. And I just felt there was some gaps in, so there were just some gaps in terms of coming to understand the causes of cancer and understanding how that it triggered the emotional body and what actually set that off. And then, yeah, later on, I wound up with quite severe anemia. And I discovered that that was kind of because I was just so energetically speaking. That comes from when you're just giving of yourself a lot, when you're bleeding yourself dry, ironically.
Yes.
Yeah. So what I did with that, that's when I really started looking into holistics, and I started looking at healing myself. And yeah, and then I did some courses. I eventually wound up, I did a holistic therapy course. After that, I did some Reiki courses. And when we did Reiki Masters, our Reiki Master introduced Shadow on the weekend that we did training, which was fabulous. But it helped me to understand that there were a lot of things I needed to look at in terms of myself, and I needed healing. And so I looked at where to from here. And then I did a soul retrieval course. And when you do that, they teach you to journey. But they won't allow you to journey unless you've done shadow, because the first thing that happens when you go into non-ordinary reality is that your own shadow comes up. So in order to deal with it, we did about 18 months of shadow. And then after that one,
Wow.
I know, I know. For the first like 4 months, I know. I was mad. No, it was good.
So actually, before you continue your story, because I have a question on this now, because when I take my clients through shadow work themselves, or when, actually, no, I shouldn't say when I take them through it, when they ask about shadow work, because it seems to be something that it's on everybody's lips at the moment. And I always say, are you really interested in it? You know, is it something you really want to do? Because it can be traumatic. And they go, yeah, no, it's definitely something I want to do, etc. You know, the benefits are supposed to be so great. I'm like, they are. But I make them do 6 weeks of self-love work first, because when they ask me, like, why do I have to do all these affirmations and things first? I'm like, because when you confront your shadow, all these things are going to start coming up that you don't like about yourself. That's why it's your shadow. And you're going to be going, oh God, I can't believe I did that. I can't believe I said that. I can't believe that I felt this, that I thought that I behaved in this manner. And I'm like, and that's why your self-esteem needs to be pretty high before you start confronting the deeper, darker recesses of your soul. So 18 months of shadow work. Could you walk us through that very quickly? Not obviously in depth, but what did that look like?
So what it looked like is we would go for classes once a month, and during the month we would have to work on our shadow, you know. So the facilitator basically in person energetically raised shadow, and then we would look at aspects of ourselves around that shadow. So why do you react in certain situations the way you do? What is this triggering in you? And we worked through various things, looking at, you know, the chakra system, looking at the deeper work of the chakra system. So looking at the archetypes, the positive and the negative archetypes of your chakra system. So are you take the root, for example. Are you a mother? Are you the nurturing, creative mother? Or are you victim? And if you're in victim mode, what are you going to do about it and why? And so, yeah, it was very hard. It was very intense. I must admit, for the first 4 months, every time I got home, I thought to myself, I can't do this anymore. I'm not, you know, but fortunately I kept going because, yeah, I had a lot of stuff. We all do, you know. It was, I use the word cathartic, and it was very cathartic. but it was intense, and it was very draining. But it's necessary, because if you want to do soul retrieval, and you want to journey to someone else's inner realm or space, if you like, if you want to journey for someone else, if you don't clear yourself, the first thing that's going to happen is your shadow is going to come and say hello. And if you can't distinguish between your own stuff and somebody else's stuff, you can't help them. Because, you know, so yeah, it was pretty intense, but it was fabulous on one level, because
of course.
We built up such a good relationship amongst us, you know, amongst the girls that did it. So it was great to work with her, because there was a real bond that developed.
Of course,
and
yes.
we learned a lot about ourselves. I had some interesting experiences that, you know, energetically, and there was a lot of shifting. So it was good, but it was very intense. Yeah.
I mean, my shadow work is still ongoing, and I don't believe that we ever completely stop with this. But the rewards are definitely there, and the rewards are pretty quick to come, actually, I would say, in my personal experience. Because that initial, like you say, catharsis, and there's that first sort of resistance to, no, this isn't me, you know, that was me acting out of character, that isn't me. And then when you actually accept that, no, that is a part of you, and there's a reason why you did these things, it is cathartic, and that catharsis then becomes really empowering, I think. And I can just imagine that if you're doing it in a group, you know, to see everybody becoming lighter, to see everybody becoming more integrated, and you really, you see the physical changes occurring alongside the energetic ones. It is quite fabulous to see. That must be an incredible bond that you then formed. That is just beautiful.
Yes, there are still some of the girls that I keep contact with, some of them quite regularly, and we, some of them are actually still in our circle, and we check up on each other, and so it definitely does happen that way. But it was interesting, it was good, it was necessary.
Yeah, I think it's something that, well, actually, I mean, I kind of harp on about this all the time, that I feel as though all these emotional, mental, and soul learnings that we as healers have to do in order to do our jobs, and that we have to learn, I feel as though these are basic tools that we really should have been taught in school. You know, just the basic
Yeah.
tools to learn how to deal with yourself so that as you're growing and as you're maturing, you're not burying stuff. You're able to actually integrate it into your journey more effectively so that when you come out the other side, at the end of puberty, at the end of your quarter life crisis and all those things, that you come out a much more integrated human being. And that's kind of my little passion project, is one day to actually have a school where these things are included in the curriculum alongside maths, English, and Afrikaans. But I think we'll get there one day. But to take a slight segue now, it actually isn't really, I suppose, going into moon phases, because the moon to me is the perfect, um, what's the word? Not example, but the perfect, yeah, actually example of shadow work, because it goes from light to dark and still remains whole.
Yes.
How do you work with moon phases for your clients? What is it that you do in your own practice as well?
So something that I found is almost everybody knows about the full moon. You know, everybody
Mm.
knows about the full moon. We all love the full moon. We know the quarters. We watch
Yeah.
it. We see this big glowing orb in the sky. But very few people take cognizance of the dark moon, understandably. So
Mm.
yeah, and as you say, you've used a truly beautiful analogy. I can see you, somebody who also obviously loves and watches the moon as well. Um,
Mm.
so what I do in my practice is I do some drummings. So in terms of that, we do drumming circles and we do
Mm.
actual journeys. So both on the full moon, but I'm also doing them on the dark moon. Just because the dark moon, so a lot of people also confuse dark and new moon. So the way I look at the moon, you have full, and then it obviously starts to wane and it gets less and less until you eventually get to a stage where you can't see the moon at all. And for one day, day and a half, it is completely dark. You cannot see that at all. It's just before that first crescent, that first sliver of moon starts to come back. And that is key time. It's key time in terms of a woman's body, in terms of hormonal levels. It's key time for
Mm-hmm.
us as humans to be, well, it's the cave. And the cave, going into that cave, okay, turning inwards, seeking inspiration. So that cave period is very, very profound. It's a very good opportunity for us to
Mm.
actually sit, especially in today's world. We're so busy. There is just so much freneticism and it's just
Oh,
nonstop. So I like, sorry, you can say, yeah, I
no,
like
no,
to
no, no.
use
I'll,
that
I'll,
time
I'll
to
hold the thought. Brilliant.
so,
Like,
and then I encourage clients to do that as well. And then I try to do some drummings and some work around dark moon, where we actually journey as well to the lower world, looking at and combining the moon obviously with what it's transiting, such as Scorpio or a Cancer or Libra, or whatever
mm-hmm.
zodiac sign it's in. And you can draw a theme from those particular zodiac signs and you can look at it. So, in a sense, what I'm actually doing is a deeper form or another form, another way of working with shadow, if you like. Um, not as
Yep.
quite as intense, but looking to get inspiration, looking at your stuff in that cave, and then drawing that out and saying, okay, where to from here, and moving then into the next phase, which is that first beautiful sliver, the new moon, when you actually start to see it, and then setting intentions, setting goals, making plans to deal with what you've raised. And sometimes
Mm.
it's not raising negative aspects. It's also raising a lot of, oh wow, I can do that, or wow, I need to go into this field, or wow, I need to do that, or getting some inspiration and moving it forward. Um, yeah, I've got some long-term plans with that, which I'm not doing at the moment, but I want to start course later on in the year. At the moment, I'm working with a group with some dark goddess energy work. Also a little bit of shadow, looking at some emotional aspects and some areas such as aggression that particularly we battle with expressing that in society. But I'm going to be starting a dark moon, an in-depth dark moon and more moon cycle based type of shadow with the goddesses, where you work with the archetypal energies to empower yourself and to go deeper into what the moon is raising and what is being raised in yourself and in your energy system, and different ways to release that and to grow from that and to expand as well, because it is a type of shadow, but I believe it's also, as you say, the moon is it's so reflective, it's so up there, and for us it's such a close thing. It falls directly on us, it shines on us, we can see it, it's beautiful. It's such a reflection of a whole integrated energy system. That when we tap into that energy, when we learn from it, we can upgrade ourselves in a major, major way. So, yeah.
That is so true. And you've actually, you mentioned something there that really resonated with me, around working with dark goddess energy and working with the various archetypes. And like you said, aggression being one of them. And, you know, I always say to people, there's no such thing as a negative emotion. There can be a negative expression of it, but we are, and I come back to the Judeo-Christian wording, which is man and woman were created in God's image. So I say, well, you know, if we are created in the image of the divine, then the fact that we have things like anger, rage, etc., means that we got that from somewhere. We got that from the divine, which means that it's not an evil emotion. It's not bad. It's how you choose to express it. And there are always positive expressions of what are perceived as negative emotions. So I love that you're teaching people to work with that energy more effectively, because, you know, without aggression, which can be channeled into healthy competition, we wouldn't have all the wonderful advancements that we have today. It's as simple as that. Have we done horrible things with it as a collective? Sure, we have. But by the same token, we're now actually I'm seeing, at least, and maybe that is my paradigm, but I'm definitely seeing a great awakening of people going, you know, we got so far with technology. What did we forget along the way? What can we add to what we have to make our experience so much better? And I think that's why you're seeing so many people now turning to spirituality, turning back to their inner selves to really see what they can do to lead a more fulfilling life. Because something else you said right at the outset that made me go, yes, is we lead such frenetic lives. You know, you're in a city and you never have time for yourself. And I saw that last year, where my business exploded in terms of coaching clients, that I was overwhelmed. And the only reason was because of COVID. People were sat at home, nothing to do, couldn't go out, couldn't distract themselves. So they had no choice but to actually sit and look in the mirror, whether they wanted to or not, and see what was going on. And I think that without realizing it, they started to do some of their own shadow work. And of course, you and I both know that without the proper tools, that is not always the most pleasant of journeys. So yeah, I think we are definitely, that's one of the good things for me that has come out of this last year. If I could ask you then, Diane, so you're obviously a speaker on the Wellness Lifestyle Conference this month, which we're very grateful for. And for those watching, again, the link for the Wellness Lifestyle Conference is in my bio. But in terms of getting in touch with you, how do people go about doing that? If they want to work with you, how do you work with clients? Do you work one-on-one, group sessions? What do you do?
So thanks, Steph, and it's a great opportunity to be part of this online conference. It's really you've got a marvelous lineup. I encourage everyone to take the opportunity to have a look, because there's a lot of speakers with a lot
Thank
of
you.
wonderful things there. So well, it depends on my clients. So it's something that needs to come from them. I work one-on-one. When it comes to shadow work, I do both. I work one-on-one and I do groups as well. So there's some people who just have a lot of shame and who have a lot of fear, and they really don't want to do the group work. I try and encourage people to do group work, but if you're uncomfortable doing group work, it is better to rather just start off on your own and what works for you. So I teach shadow both ways. Most of the moon one and the dark goddesses one, it's been groupings, and there's been a lovely energy amongst the group that has come together. There's been a very supportive energy. Although I will say the dark goddess energies have not been intense. I am anticipating that the dark moon one is going to be a lot more intense. But yes, so getting in touch with me, I have got a Facebook page. They can have a look on Facebook. Anamkara is the name of it. Anamkara's Healing. And then also they can, Anamkara's Healing, yes. It's an Irish term which means soul friend, and it's someone who actually helps to guide you and help you in your spirituality. It's a sort of what you would call like a counselor, not so much a healer, but someone who's there to hold space for you, which is why I like the term. Otherwise, yeah, they can find my, they can contact me via WhatsApp. I also am on Meetup a little bit. But otherwise, my Facebook page, I have got a website, also Anamkara's Healing. I think it's all on Body on Mind. I can also drop my phone number here if people need it. It's 081 735 8350. Whoops, I lost that a moment.
Let me actually just make a note of that 2 seconds so that I've got it here. 081
735 8350.
Brilliant. And I'll pop that in the description as well so people can get in touch with you. That's amazing. Well, Guy, thank you so much for your time here with us today. This has been so incredible. I'm kind of putting you on the spot here, but I'm going to probably invite you back for another interview because I really would like to have a deeper discussion on the shadow aspect, the shadow work, which I think is so needed. And I find it so interesting that over the last 2 weeks, before I even knew what the topic of our discussion today was going to be, the amount of my clients who have been asking and saying, I think I'm ready now. I think I'm ready to start, digging out my shadow. I'm like, okay, great. And then along comes you. So also probably the universe saying to me, Stefan, you might need to go a bit deeper on your shadow work. So naughty me. Got to get on it. But yeah, I think this is absolutely brilliant. Di, thank you so much. Really appreciate your time here today. And I look forward to speaking to you again very soon.
Thank you, Steph. Fabulous. Thanks for having me. I look forward to speaking with you again. And yes.
Only but a pleasure. Speak very soon. Yeah.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Stephen.
Cheers then. Bye.
Bye-bye.